Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Casco Township. I should have coffee and rolls tonight. I see that right now, but that didn't quite work out. So we will start with pledge of allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Before we begin, we've all heard on the news what's going on in the Gaza Strip. Some terrible, terrible, awful things. So if you could with me, just have a moment of silence for all those countries and all of those folks and families that are trying to survive. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate that. Our next order of business is the approval of the minutes from our last meeting. Are there any additions and or corrections to the minutes from the last meeting? If not, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting, or the minutes from the meeting of September 19th, 2020.
Second that motion.
Thank you, Sue. There's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Approval of the agenda. I've got a couple of corrections that we have to make, and if you would bear with me a moment to, under the public hearing on number 7, we really do not have an address yet for your property, and so we need to take that off, if you would. Under B, we have an item where we have to set a public hearing before we can actually change the Article 14, Section 75, Paragraph 1B, increasing the time requirement for site plan review from the 15 days to the 30 days. So those are really the two corrections I believe we have.
So, adjustment to the zoning ordinance will go to 8 and then everything is done. And if someone wants, I have it here, if they need to read it off, I didn't have
Okay.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve this month's agenda with 2 adjustments to the agenda. First one being the deletion of the address for item number 7A, and the second adjustment would be to move the
strike from the public hearing.
strike from the public hearing the adjustment to the Casco Township zoning ordinance, Article 14, Section 75, Paragraph 1B, which increases the time requirement for site plan review from 15 to 30 days. That would be moved to number 8 on the agenda to set a public hearing date.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, folks. Communications. Is there any communications at this point that we'd like to discuss? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on. Discussion from the floor. And obviously, we have a number of people here this evening. We asked you to come up to the podium, if you would, sign in. We'd like you to hold your discussion, if you would, from 3 to 5 minutes. If you hear of, it sounds like repetition, please understand that if you hear it once, we're pretty good, we can get it. So with that, if we have some folks who would like to speak to, this would be, I should say, Casco Township business that is not on the agenda. If you're here for agenda item, let's say for the special land use, we will have a public hearing for that. So you'll be able to get up and give your discussion on that. This is for other business that you may have with the township that you want us to bring to the attention of our folks in the office. And so if there is something, please feel free to stand up.
Mary Jo Wallen Tobick, 8356 Meisner Road. I just have a couple of questions. One being, is it new policy to have the door locked at 7 o'clock for meetings? Because people are getting locked out, coming at 7:02. Is that a new policy? And if so, it should be posted somewhere so people know this. At the last meeting, yes. Were you locked out?
I grabbed it for them when they were coming in because I thought it might have been locked.
Yeah, it was locked on Tuesday.
Oh,
People were here at 7:02 and they were locked out. They tried every single door.
oh, really? Okay.
That's not a
The
policy,
side
is it?
door is always open. It's the key, and it holds it open. You come in 10 minutes before meeting, and it's never been locked.
I've
And
not
that was
been
a
locked
board
out.
meeting. This is a planning commission meeting, that's a board agenda item.
No, I meant it was for all meetings, including this one.
That side door is always open.
Okay, well, it wasn't. Secondly, I
Nobody
guess,
gets up to lock,
I'm sorry, what?
Nobody gets up to lock it.
Okay, it was a question. Thank
And I'm
you.
explaining, nobody gets up to lock it. I'm not being rude to you, I'm just explaining. If nobody ever gets up to lock the door after everybody comes in, it's always been open.
Okay, on Tuesday it was not.
Any of the stuff.
It could have been stocked, it could not, nobody ever gets up to lock the door.
Okay, thank you. Second, there's 10 people here standing. Who is the person that's responsible for providing chairs? I mean, if the board is a service to the community, it seems like y'all would have got up and got chairs. I mean, who does that? Not there's chairs in there or there's chairs down there. It just doesn't seem like there's a spirit of service. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dan, for getting up and getting chairs. Yes, Dan, you did, and I appreciate that, but I don't know.
Okay, Mary Jo, that's a good point.
Thank you.
We appreciate that. We'll do better in the future. Right? Anyone else?
Gerald Keller, Casco Township, 4394 Church Road.
Hi, Jerry.
Hi. Effective immediately, I quit all positions at the Township, ZBA and Planning Commission. The reason I'm quitting, I'm tired of being told what to do by your township dictator. I'll officially sit on this side of the fence and do my preaching instead of being on that side of the fence. Have a good night.
Hate to lose you, Jerry.
Yep. Other people need to go in this township. You guys are all beautiful people. We'll make changes.
Amen.
Yep. All righty. Any other comments?
Are we allowed to speak on a certain item that's coming up?
But we'd like you to come to the podium if you wouldn't mind.
Yes.
You gotta wait for it.
Hi, Janice O'Neill, 4438 Church Road. On behalf of the number 7A, the special land use and soil removal of Melanie and James.
Matt, we're going to have a special section on that.
Oh, that's why I just asked you if you could
Oh, I'm
speak on
sorry.
that.
This is just for other business that we may have, folks may have with the township, besides what's on the agenda tonight. So if I didn't make that clear.
So when are we going to be able to speak on that?
Yeah. Very
At
soon.
this meeting or at? Oh, okay, that's what I asked. Okay,
Right. Yeah, I have some anxious people in the audience, so we're going to do that.
Great work. I live at 4848 Meldrum. I was at the last board meeting. We were talking about the size requirements for parcels. I haven't been able to find it. I saw something that said it used to be 5 acres, correct, for minimum.
2.5.
I saw something that somebody said it got dropped to 2.5 acres. I don't know if that's something you guys know, or if it's still 5 acres for lot sizes.
2.5.
Well, just for splitting a lot and selling it.
Agricultural is 5 acres, right?
That's what I thought, yeah.
No, unless it's in residential.
Well, it depends, like if they put just down the road.
Yeah.
It'd still be 5 acres. It's just, so the 2.5 is more in, like towards the area in town.
2.5
Well,
acres.
it would be like, where's that line?
I'm not exactly sure. Probably the best thing to do is call, if you wouldn't mind calling Shelley
Yeah, okay.
and give her a shout.
I just figured, I don't know if you guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Linden Road is probably the line.
we may tell you the wrong thing.
Well, yeah, that's, and then everybody's kind of like, well, it could be here, it could be there, it's this, so.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. We will move forward. We're going to go into a public hearing for the special land use removal, special land use soil removal with Melanie, Letty, and James Thomas. Their consultant is Matthew, right?
Yes.
Good evening.
Thank you. Good evening.
We'd like to, and to do that, we've got to make a motion to open the public hearing up. So is there that motion on the floor, please?
Close the regular meeting first. Close the regular meeting, then you have to open it. I know it's a formality, but you have to close the regular meeting.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
We have a motion to close the regular meeting.
I make the motion to close the regular meeting of October 17th of the Casco Township Planning Commission.
Is there a second to that?
I'll
motion?
second that.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Thanks, Vicki.
No problem, I am open.
Now we gotta open the special land use. She keeps me straight, by the way. Oh, my God. So we need a motion to open the special land use soil removal for a particular piece of property in Casco. Is there such a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to open the hearing, the public hearing for special land use soil removal on this day, October 17, 2023.
Is there a second to that motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. All right, what we will do at this point is allow our folks in the audience to make their discussion on the matter tonight. Again, we'd ask you to hold it to 3.5 minutes or 3 minutes if you could, please. If you hear something that's already been said, please bear in mind we've got a lot of people here tonight, and we want to give everyone a chance to talk, and if that's possible. So please come forward.
Hi, Joyce Kaspersky, 9715 Eisner Road, Casco, Michigan.
Hi, Joyce.
Hello, Keith. Thanks for everybody being here. This is, for me, a very special issue since this is going to be right in my backyard, about 100 feet from my house. Because of the proximity to residential homes and questionable size of excavation, the following concerns are being voiced by myself. I grew up here, about 72 years been in the area. A lot of you people are newer than that, but I've been here for like 72 years. I have several issues, so I'll run through as quick as possible. First and foremost in my mind is potential damage to residential wells, possible loss of wells. Who's going to cover that? What's going to go on with that? We have a potential. The water table is quite high in the area, around 4 feet. And so I'm concerned about lowering that water table and what kind of possible groundwater contamination could come in if we're using pesticides and if we're using fertilizers. Second big thing, noise pollution, digging, trucks, sifters, time of working, continued length. You know, is this going to be Monday through Friday, half a day Saturday? What's this all going to be? For how long? Because, and then that's going to have increased truck traffic on our roads, wear, tear, what about repair needs? I mean, is this all going to be down Church Road? Is this all going to be down Meisner Road, which already has people driving 70 miles an hour down the road because it's not posted? Air pollution from the excavation, blowing debris from the excavation and truck travel. What about physical safety for the size of this excavation and the excavation itself for human and wildlife? Currently, there's no fencing out there, so what's the plan for that if there was that? And anything this size is certainly going to pose a potential harm for wildlife and or humans. What about wildlife displacement due to the noise and the activity? But that leads to a possible potential increase in activity of the deer on roads. There's no fencing. I mean, that could increase, we could have an increase in accidents. I mean, there's many, many, many things here. What about questionable future business expansion? And again, leading to dissatisfaction with noise, traffic, and wildlife. Is it starting here? Is it even gonna flesh out to anything? And then are we gonna be having mini Blakes in our backyard? What about, with the problems that I've listed as far as water being thinking about my well being the main concern, that certainly would decrease property values with potential losses in wells. And who's gonna cover that? Township? Who's gonna take care of that? Sensory deprivation, dust, noise, leading to quality of life. Both my husband and I are both retired. We spend a great deal amount of time outside in the yard. My husband does have dementia, and increased noises and loud noises are very, very disruptive to him. He likes a quiet atmosphere. He's home practically all of the time. He doesn't like to go out, and this is what he enjoys, being outside. And to have that within 100 feet of my house, I'm a little bit concerned about that. Another question. I don't know about DTE right-of-way regulations, but if that's within 100 feet of my house, those lines are running back there. How is that for a right-of-way? What does that have to do if you're putting in a huge excavated area there? No one wants a business in their backyard, and I question that the pond is a cover for a sand pit like excavation for monetary gain. If so, does the owner have mineral rights for that property? Sand is actually a mineral. Do people know that? So you need to have mineral rights to mine that. And would this property then have to be rezoned for industrial use versus agricultural? There's some questions here that aren't being answered. Research on lavender farming will let you know that lavender is kind of a drought-resistant type of plant. It does not need a lot of water. It also is a plant that does possess the ability to keep deer away, small animals. Where are they all going to go? Probably in my garage. And then just a small side note, I mean, we're talking about a lot of money here with sand going out. 5 acres alone is a whole lot of cubic yards of sand, depending on how deep you put that. That's a lot of money on the table. We're looking probably close to $1 million. Many of us have been here all of our lives, paying taxes and keeping the township looking good. And the bottom line, if you let a business come in like that and you don't know the long-term ramifications on your residents potentially to be affected, you're doing a disservice to the entire township, not just a few of us. Greed is dangerous and easily concealed. Thank you all for your.
Hi, again, Janice O'Neill, 4438 Church Road. I'm also here on behalf of the special land use and removal of soil. From what I understand, it's going to be a 5-acre pond up and eventually a lavender farm. And as my aunt said, lavender is drought resistant and needs very little water. Michigan has receives enough rainfall to supplement irrigation of a 5-acre pond, which I understand a pond already sits on the farm, or on the land, not to say farm, because it's not farmland. Lavender needs well-draining soil in order to thrive. Lavender prefers dry, sandy, well-drained soil to thrive in. It doesn't do well in heavy clay soil that prevents drainage. It's sensitive to standing water and excess moisture. Groundwater, as my aunt said, she lives 100 feet off where this is going to be dug, whatnot. Groundwater, I mean, is there going to be some kind of drainage plan where this is going to drain, or is it going to drain into her yard? We know all about the digging of ditches and that because the farm that I grew up on, ever since they dug the 6-foot ditches in our area where it drains, it floods. It never flooded the entire time I've lived in this area. I'm 49 years old. Never until that was built. Are they gonna dig some kind of drainage, or are they gonna put 6-foot drains in and charge the residents around there to pay for that? What else do I have? So, with these digging, We'll talk about the wells drying up. These confined aquifers, or you want to say watersheds, they could take years, weeks, years, centuries to refill. In that case, these wells will dry up. What do they have to truck in water? Who's going to pay into trucking water like they do in Cotterville? Like I said, a lavender farm would be beautiful, but to build a 5-acre pond to water a drought-resistant plant, I think is unnecessary. And I don't think the residents that live along this line should have to worry about if their wells are gonna dry up and all this noise, all the pollution that's gonna happen and so forth. If this is the case, I'm all for a lavender farm, but not for a 5-acre, for the potential loss of other people's property and their wells, and for them to carry on what's gonna have to happen for them to pay for all these expenses. Or looking up something for Miss Melanie, I just want to read something right quick.
Oh, Miss,
Well, I just want to read if this is a coincidence or not.
this is not reflective of the.
No, I'm not saying nothing on her personally. I just want to know if this is a coincidence that they own numerous, waterfront weekly rentals, and in the process, a new project that will offer us glamorous camping or glamping weekly rental that's on 75 acres. I mean, 73.58 acres, I mean, that's rounded up to 75. Is it really for camping, or do you really want a lavender farm? Just be honest with the residents. Is this what it really is?
My name is Larry Fowler, Lawrence Fowler. I live at 5161 Church Road, almost directly across from the only exit they have from their property, right? Almost across from me. And I've lived there for 53 years. Okay. I'm not gonna say too much. I'm gonna just remind everybody that lots of things that Casco's thought through the years was gonna be wonderful, like Indian summer and like the golf course. So they dug all those ponds in the golf course. Once they started pumping them, I had friends over on County Line lose their well. They went through hell getting their wells back. They don't have city water. We don't have city water. I don't want to lose my water. And just remember what you think before you do it, because people can lose their wells 4 miles away when you start pumping 5-acre ponds. And water is your lifeline. I ain't worried about traffic or fences or deer or lavender. We need our water.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I know no one else. It's you. Agent order 7676, what do you got? I will second everything that everyone has said, polluting our water, possibly wrecking the aquifers. We do sit on some pretty fragile, the whole thing about the 26-mile project, the Bell River watershed, that's what it is, the Bell River watershed. Why would we even consider allowing someone to mess it up? Number two, if this is a business, this is agricultural, is it zoned business? That's my question. Is it zoned for business?
It's zoned.
It's zoned
Zoned
ag.
Agriculture.
Agricultural, right? Okay, I take serious issue with people that don't live in Casco coming in and trying to pull the wool over our eyes. I moved here. Casco. I wanted to live in a place like Casco my whole life. I didn't come here to change it. So So you're gonna hear me say it anytime something like this comes up. It isn't personal to you guys, but I don't need someone from another county coming in and destroying our way of life.
Amen.
So please take that into consideration.
Well, thank you.
The first time I've done this.
Good.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Doing lovely. How are you all?
Good. What is your name, please?
My name is Catherine Spuzz, 5146 Church Road. The address that is on your agenda.
So you're the one we've been looking
I'm really trying to understand why this 2 years, 3 years since we parceled the property, it's still showing up as 5146. Obviously, I don't know how you got your agenda address, but thank you for recognizing that it is not the property that is being considered here. I obviously want to second everything. Congratulations, thank you so much for everything that you researched and brought to the table, because spot on. The well, I am very, very, very concerned about that drying up. Again, we have no other resources if that gets dried up. Just a couple of things of consideration. How will they fill the pond if this is approved? How is it getting filled? How is it being maintained? Obviously, if it dries up, how is that going to be considered? I did seek outside counsel to just have a chat about what that might look like. My understanding is we would have to lodge individual lawsuits. I don't know if that's true. I don't know how that works. Never been in a situation like this. I've been raised on city water. Now I'm on well water, and this is a concern. I have no idea how this would work out. I don't have resources to file individual lawsuits, right? Another thing, if this does go through, is Casco going to do any kind of third-party or independent analysis of whatever land surveying is being presented and given to you, right, to consider? Because I'm sure Melanie and Steve are going to have to, in some way, provide some sort of analysis. Is there going to be a third-party independent analysis to just confirm, from a third-party perspective, that whatever their plans are being considered from another party? That's really all I have.
All right, thank you.
Alan's 9775 Meisner Road. Lived here for 40 years already. Back line once up to the property. My question is, how deep is this supposedly pond gonna go? What kind of soil's back there? 'Cause I got a pond on my back line that's sandy dirt, and if we don't get a lot of rain, it's usually dry by right now. Since we got so much rain, it's about half full, but usually it's a deep hole, and that's it. And you know, my concern is for the well. My property backs up to Golden Hawk, and I don't recall having problems with the well, but you know, who knows? You know, who knows what's going to happen? So, appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Jerry Simons, 9609 Meisner Road. Previous speakers stole my thunder, so I do got a couple additions that I would like to talk about. Regarding all the truck traffic and stuff down the roads, are our taxes going to be going up for all the road maintenance that's going to be required? If they drive down Church Road can be full of potholes. If they drive down Meisner Road can crack all up. Another concern of mine was the dry well issue. If you guys remember, if you're familiar with Columbus Township,
There was a proposed golf course going in at Gratiot and Barman Road. They excavated a bunch of the sand out of there, and all the neighborhood wells all dried up. And that was 15 feet deep, roughly. That was about 12, 13 years ago. That was supposed to be Arnold Palmer Championship Golf Course. That was an issue that I think the highway of, because Casco Township's got very poor wells in this area. You know, and my neighbors have maybe a gallon a minute in their wells, if not, maybe less. She talked about the fences. I agree with that. And another person talked about how the hole is supposed to be filled with water naturally. My question was, how is the land supposed to be irrigated? Are they using gasoline pumps? Are they using tractor PTO pump, solar powered, windmills? Are they using like traveling irrigation arm that farmers use across the state to do their crops? And also, I would like to take an issue up with something that I found when I looked up. What is a pond? A pond is described as sunlight can reach the bottom of the entire body of water. It's generally considered a pond. A lake is considered 5 acres or more. So I would consider this as a lake, not a pond. Thank you.
My name. And while I'm at it, I'll remind you of one more little thing here. I remember coming to many meetings, and the holy grail of Casco Township to keep stuff going and moving in and out was you could not move soil, dirt out of the township. Has that been changed? You could move it within the township or within your own property, but you could not dig a hole and take the dirt out of Casco Township. Has that been changed? I don't know. But I know it was a rule. It was in the ordinances because you could not move soil out of Casco.
Soil came onto your property, it couldn't be then taken back off.
Don't forget your hat.
Sir.
There you go, get your hat. Your hat. You already signed it. You want to sign in again?
No, I didn't sign in the first time. That's how I got back up here.
Well, come on, sign in. Hi, my name is Carol Mooney, and I live at 5864 Church Road. And my concern is the water issues that we've dealt with for the last 5 years on our road. We finally got the county to fix it. The noise. I can see Clancy's from my bedroom at 6 a.m. I can hear the excavator, the backhoe, the bulldozer. 10 o'clock at night, they have lights on. I feel sorry for you guys, I really do, because the traffic down our road is getting ridiculous, ridiculous. And this is gonna make it worse. I mean, now we got the corn maze here for the fall, now we're gonna have a lavender farm. I feel sorry for you guys.
Christy Malinowski for 312 Church Road.
Mr. Oak signed it.
I have a couple issues to address with this whole thing. Not less than a quarter mile down the road, there's a business and daycare with young kids, as my son attended. With this 5-acre pond, that's a safety issue. Not saying that daycare lady does not watch her kids, but what if one of these kids get loose and drown? What's gonna happen then? I also have an issue with the wells too drying up. I lived in this township for 50 years. First my mom's house, I've lived at my house for 25 years. I'm on my third well. Granted, I might be down the road 1.5 miles, but I'm on my third well at almost 15 grand a pop. So if my well dries up from this, is the township gonna pay for it? On my third well in 25 years. And another thing is, you already have the dump with all the stench from the dump. So now we're gonna have all the dirt and dust. Is that what we really want in our township? That's all I have.
Thank you.
German Bayless, 5272 Church. As far as I know of, there's only one access road into this property. And it's right next to my property. And I want to thank everyone for all their information regarding the wells and everything. But I'm concerned about the noise, and I'm concerned the road goes right next to my property. And I'm concerned about the noise and everything on this road. I mean, there's always farming and farm vehicles, yes, I know that, and we expect that. But I think this is going to be in excess. And I'd like to know too, what kind of irrigation system that they're planning on. Is it like the other gentleman said, I don't want to repeat, but the sprinkler system or some other kind of system, that's going to be noise too. So, and no one said really where the pond was going to be located on this 73 acres.
Thank you.
Just one last thing, as you're talking about irrigation. I've watched, as we've lived there for 43 years, looking out that backyard. It's been rented out. The farmers have come in, whoever, I don't know who, but they've come and gone. Plenty of crops have been raised back there beautifully on Mother Nature's range. So, you know, I just don't see.
You're gonna need to irrigate it out more than it is wet.
They're gonna charge the rest of those residents
Yeah.
for all the water flow and stuff.
Garrett from Etuja, 5146 Church. I've also lived here 49 years. I guess the main thing that bothers me is, because we were involved with the sale of the property, it was my grandparents' property, we were told there was going to be no changes made to the property. So that's what scares me right off the bat. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Anyone else? I have a letter to read. I was just going to read this into, okay? And this is from Joyce.
Keith, it's the same as
Oh,
mine.
it's
that's
really,
you.
yeah, that was me. I just dropped that off for you guys all to see that. Because I'm pretty long-winded.
Okay.
Sorry, that was mine. If you want, go ahead. No.
She's been doing this to me for the last.
Shush!
Thanks, Joyce.
With so many concerns with legal issues or having legal, having to sue legally, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but this gentleman is a lawyer, so that causes more concern and.
Would you care to sit for a while? I sat
Thank you.
Yes.
That's actually.
Okay. Anyone else want to? Yes, sir.
Kyle Kaplan, 532 Church Road. First of all, I want to say it's great to see all my neighbors out here. A lot of you guys I've never met before. I hear all these church road addresses. I'm the red house between Springboard and Meisner. It was built a few years ago, so it's good to meet you all. I think it's pretty cool that we can all get together and look into things like this. So I'll admit,
on the surface, this lavender farm, I was like, wow, that's cool, lavender farm. But hearing all my neighbors tonight with these legitimate concerns about water, and noise, and dust, I think that they're all legitimate concerns. So on the water, I think being number one. So obviously, I think there's some due diligence to be done with an engineering study on the water, how that's going to affect all of us. But the other side of things, I don't like seeing government step out of bounds, you know, and tell people what they can and can't do with their property. So I want to caution the commission, be careful, you know, telling people what they can and cannot do. You know, obviously the residents, you know, concerns have to be taken into consideration. At the same point, we're all property owners too. You know, there's things that we may want to do our property in the future. You know, we don't want the government stepping on our toes too much. So we definitely got some legitimate concerns that need to be addressed, and I hope that that Melanie is gonna, you know, listen to all these concerns, and maybe she already has some answers that she's gonna share with us tonight. But that's all. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on, and we've asked a couple of our consultants to be with us this evening to review with them what they found on the plans and with their synopsis of the development. So, John, we're going to start with you, if that's okay.
Great. Sounds really fun.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm kidding. John is our consulting engineer for Casco Township. And a good man to call when you've got that, maybe that issue that you're trying to resolve alongside of Roland. So, John, if you would take over for a moment and maybe give us a little synopsis of what you found.
Sure. We reviewed the plan according to the township ordinances, which is all that we can do. You know, it's not our choice to change the ordinance or to interpret it in some unusual way. So what we do is we follow the engineering ordinance, the soil removal ordinance, and compare that to the documents that were turned in by the petitioner. And most all of the items that they provided on their plans, I know a lot of you have not seen the drawings. Hopefully we're going to get to see those tonight. That would show the location, how far of a separation it is from other properties, why there's no fence on it. For example, the ordinance does not require a fence when the side slopes are there's a certain slope excavated. When steep slopes are excavated, fences are required. So the ordinance has guidelines for us to look at. We follow those, and from that standpoint, they followed all the requirements that were in the ordinance. They addressed pretty much every item that was there. I cannot speak to the well. Obviously, it's a very concern of everyone. We're not a hydrologist to do the groundwater, how the groundwater would travel in the area. That would have to be by someone, a geologist more or less, to look at that. They are, although I will say they are proposing to excavate this pond wet, so that means they're not pumping it down during the construction of the pond itself. So that is always a concern. Obviously, when somebody tries to excavate in the dry, so all the material they're pulling out is dry. But that is one of the ways that they're trying to address the water issue from that standpoint of during construction. Other than that, I think they pretty well complied with the ordinance requirements from an engineering standpoint.
Thanks, John. Well, Karen, maybe a general synopsis of what your firm found as far as from the planning consultant standpoint.
Right, so according to the Casco zoning ordinance, which is the set of codes that the planning commission looks at when doing these reviews. Excavation and mining is allowed in the ag district as a special land use, which means if certain circumstances line up, then it's possible that this could be an approved use in the area. There's two sets of criteria that are specific for mining in the ag district. The first one is all mining operations shall have direct access to a paved major thoroughfare as designated on the Casco Township thoroughfare plan. Now, Church Road is designated as a major thoroughfare, however, it's not paved in this area. And the second piece of criteria is where the mining operation abuts a residential district or use, an obscuring fence, berm, and/or landscaped greenbelt shall be provided at the discretion of the planning commission along the entire property line abutting the residential district or use. The applicant in their application to us has stated that they understand this provision, and it is a possibility that the planning commission may ask them that. Similar to the engineer, we've reviewed the soil removal ordinance. In our review, they seem to meet most of the criteria. There is a set of sections where they're basically questions of the applicant asking them, what is your, describe what your operation is, and the applicant has provided that information. Yeah, that's mostly what I can say.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Are there any other comments from the audience?
Just a question. I heard a couple times.
Could you possibly come up to the?
Oh, I'm sorry. I just heard a couple times, the majority of the I's were dotted. I didn't hear anything about the ones that weren't dotted. Okay?
Thank you.
That now, so to me, that means everything isn't on the table and we don't all know what's going on.
Right.
When you say they met almost all.
What didn't they meet?
What didn't they meet?
Well, I'd say for the zoning ordinance, specifically in the ag district, it says all mining operations shall have direct access to a paved major thoroughfare. And Church Road is designated as a major thoroughfare, however, it's not paved in this area. It is not, and that's considering what there's going to be the truck traffic.
It's in an ag district, but a lot of us are paying residential on our properties where our dwellings are.
Right.
Okay, sir, we've got to make sure we keep going here.
And the other question is, you talked about, in a mining operation. My question, I did ask a couple of things because in my, kind of my reading needed to be, this is zoned agricultural, but I understood that if you're mining, you have to have an industrial use zoning, not an ag zoning, but an industrial use zoning. Can you answer that?
Right. We have all these separate zoning districts. There's agricultural, there's residential. You have two, or commercial district. You have certain uses. So I'd say it's in the ag district, but mining is allowed in the ag district as a special land use, which means it goes through the site plan approval process, or goes through the site plan review process. There's extra scrutiny given. It could be permitted under the right circumstances. That's what a special land use is. There's permitted uses, like you can farm in the ag district, you can have a house in the ag district, you can have residential uses. You don't have to go through, I'd say, this extra review for
Who determines
uses.
those circumstances?
I'm sorry?
Who determines those circumstances?
The zoning ordinance. There's a list in the zoning ordinance about what uses are called principal permitted and what's considered a special land use. And in agriculture, it's listed in special, mining is considered a special land use in the agricultural district. So it's listed there.
And then my other question does harken back to the fact of mineral rights. Do they have their mineral rights?
Yes, we do.
Okay. One other quick one?
Just a quick question.
Yeah. Could you, please?
This was presented as digging a 5-acre pond. When did it turn into mining and excavation?
Excavation is the same as digging.
Yes, you excavate your pond,
Right.
right? But all of a sudden, we're talking about mining and mineral rights. And can they take those out off their property? If they are actually mining, are they allowed to take it off? I thought Casco had an ordinance, it's part of the an ordinance where if you dig under the dirt, it stays on your property or the dirt stays in Casco, right? You don't, it can't be exported out of the township, is that correct?
Isn't Grosso's in Casco Township?
No,
That's what
it's
Mr.
not.
Fowler was saying.
Where's Grosso's at?
Ira.
Oh, yeah, it's the Ira Casco.
26. Different township. So what is it? Are we digging
Can we answer that
or are we
question?
mining?
Anybody, can we answer that question?
There is a soil removal ordinance. That's what kind of takes it into what you would call mining.
Are we mining
If
or
you
are we
dig-
digging a
if
pond?
you dig- There's a pond ordinance as well. In the pond ordinance, typically, you're digging the dirt out and leaving it on your own piece of property.
Right.
A soil removal ordinance, part of the ordinance here, allows for soil to be moved from the property. And that's then considered, in fact, I'm not sure how it's labeled, is it mining and soil removal, something to that effect.
Chapter
So this
32,
is,
soil removal.
it's a soil removal ordinance, so.
Where's it going? Where's it
I
gonna
have
go?
one dumb
In their
question.
pocket.
Where's it gonna go? You're gonna dig
Grosso's, yeah,
up.
it's
I live on 5 acres. It's huge. That's a huge amount of dirt.
Yeah.
Where's it going?
Well, what we're going to,
Where's
what
it
we're going
going?
to do is.
Why
allow-
can't anybody answer a question? It's a simple question.
We're going to
You're
do
gonna
that.
dig up all the dirt,
Yeah.
and where's it gonna go?
Sand.
Nobody knows where it's gonna go,
Sand
it's gonna be
out.
sold.
They don't care about
Monetary.
dirt.
It's gonna go into the road that you drive.
So,
It's gonna go to your neighbor's
Sand- sand
septic.
is-
So here we go. Somebody from out of
I was
Casco
going to the
coming
neighbor's
in.
septic field with this
and
Grosso trucking, so they're gonna take it over to Grosso
Yes.
trucking,
Benefit
and then
themselves.
Grosso's gonna charge us to bring that sand in, so how is that going to your neighbor's yard? That's not going to your neighbor's yard.
Seeing how your neighbors feel, you should be ashamed to even do the project.
I'm sorry.
We're gonna move on, and we're gonna have, well, Jeff, can you please give your presentation?
Jim couldn't get his PowerPoint together, or up in front of him.
Jim couldn't get his PowerPoint together.
At least put the plan up, tape or something, or so that the audience can see the drawing up there.
Would you mind if I try to get a PowerPoint up on the screen?
Yeah, that would be great.
How much money did they give the township?
I want you to say something.
I was thinking.
You should be the one to say it,
Bring it back to order, and then we can get everybody out of here tonight at a decent time.
I don't want to take too long.
Yes.
15, 20 minutes?
15 minutes? How's
Yeah,
that?
that's fine.
Okay.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jim Thomas. You have asked a lot of questions, which are good questions. I'm happy that you're all here. I know some of you. And I want to thank you for coming out. I thank you for your comments. This is what democracy is all about. It's fair commentary and it's fair questions that you're asking. And so I want to try and answer them the best that I can. So about 4 years ago, my wife and I bought the property. We wanted to have something rural. We live in Chesterfield, and I have offices and I practice in St. Clair County. I'm a lawyer. and my wife is a real estate broker, and she sells in Wayne, Oakland, Macomb, St. Clair counties. And it was that opportunity that we found when we bought the place from Derek Matuja's grandmother, Kira Matuja, her grandmother. Kira works for Melanie, and we found out about the property, and we bought it. It is about 70 to 73 acres. Most of it is farmland. It hadn't been farmed for 7 years, but, or 5 years to 7 years. It was
farmed up until you bought it.
I'll be happy to let you talk if you let me talk.
Right, but you're wrong. This field is farmed until you bought it.
Yeah, right. Okay, so here's what I know.
Yes, it has. I'm the neighbor. I'm right alongside Mr. Farm.
Folks, let's let the gentleman talk. We've asked everyone else to be quiet when you talk, so please have a little courtesy and we can get through this, okay? Go ahead, Jim.
So, it had not been farmed for years, and we contracted with someone that came in and did farm it, and they put in soy. And the crops have suffered because the land is very dry. There were some periods of time where we had 18, 20 days worth of no rain, and the crop was not producing nearly as well as we had hoped that it would. There are other places nearby, up on Church Road, we have better crops and they have better soil, but this was very sandy soil. And because of the sandiness of the soil, it wasn't able to retain the moisture. And every year, the amount of production at that property that was being farmed for soil was lower and lower and lower. This year's been better. We had a lot of rain, but that was an anomaly over the time that we've had it. We've explored all kinds of different things, including building a house, living out there, other things that have been mentioned here, but the thing that really crystallized with us was lavender. And we enjoyed the idea because we put a nice big plot of a big garden, 150 feet by 60 feet, and we put all kinds of stuff in there. But trying to get it watered and trying to irrigate it was just almost impossible, and the crops suffered, even though we did have some production on our little garden. The idea of lavender came to pass. We did some research. We took some classes with Michigan State University. We have consulted with an expert in lavender production. The idea is that we excavate an area less than 5 acres, which we're allowed to do, and to have that pond accumulate the water, and with that water, use that to irrigate the lavender that we're going to put in on the 30-plus acres that we have that are tillable. So this is lavender, and lavender is beautiful. And neighbors that are asking about what their view is going to be, they're going to have a pond, a big pond, but they're going to have lavender, which is like this. Only it'll be in a form of, we hope, rows that can be irrigated. The irrigation is not going to be sprinklers that are going to go sprinkling and making noise on a regular basis. It's going to be drip irrigation, and each plant needs about 1.5 gallons of water twice a week.
No.
Okay. All right, somebody wants to say no.
We're farmers here.
We've consulted with an expert, and I will get to that PowerPoint in a second. Lavender is grown in Michigan. It's good in Michigan, and there have been many, many farms that have opened up. So the second slide shows 18 lavender farms in the state of Michigan. We have tried 3 different species of lavender. One of them absolutely did not take at all, and the other 2 seem to thrive. And so what we've done with our little experimental thing with 300 plants, by the garden that we have, we were able to determine how often we had to water, what plants were going to thrive, and there was been a question about the animals, and so I will get to that in a second. What is lavender used for? It's for different types of things. A lot of you are worried about the fact that this is gonna be a big deal and that we're gonna have a lot of traffic after the fact. The idea is to excavate, take the sand out. There is value in the sand. I would say a different word. I would not use greed. I would say that there's value in the sand. All right, and why would I not want to use that? If I have mineral rights to the property, Melanie and I have mineral rights to the property, why would I not want to be able to benefit from that? So taking that off and selling it is part of the way that we're going to finance this project. And the financing of the project is something that I'll get into in a second. We think that people will like what they see, number one, that they will enjoy coming to the place, and if they want to take photographs and pictures on an appointment basis. This is not going to be agro-tourism where we're going to have a parking lot full of cars coming in and out and up and down Church Road where everybody's worried about the traffic. Okay? We have been quiet neighbors, we've been good neighbors, we have been stewards of the land, we've tried to make it a better place. And those of you that have driven by have seen how we tried to reclaim the overgrown woods and how we tried to reclaim the area that was not farmed when we bought the place. Photography and venue events is going to be cool. You've got a kid graduating from high school. We think that there's some market for that. And the most important part is lavender production. Now, this is a farm. It's agriculturally zoned. Lavender is a agricultural product, and that's what we intend to do. We intend to grow lavender. We intend to harvest it once, possibly twice a year if the crops are allowing it, and to take the lavender off-site and sell it. This is what the property looks like, okay? We got 40 acres, approximately 40 acres of woods, 33 acres of tillable land. There is on the north part, I'm sorry, on the top part. Hello? Anybody? On the top part, you can actually see the shadows of the electric line that has an easement going through. The neighbors who say that they live 100 feet from the property line really aren't 100 feet from the property line. There, and more than that, there is a 200-foot easement for Edison. So we're not going to be able to have the excavation on the lower side that you see outside of the yellow outline.
That's on the upper.
Okay.
The DTE Edison is across the top.
Did I say Edison?
Yeah.
How many feet do you think I am? I'm on the, directly on the east side of Church Road. I'm pretty damn close to what you're talking about.
Okay, but what I'm trying to tell you is that there is an easement there, and that's 200 additional feet from where it is that your property line is.
You know, I have no problem. Grow what you want. It's your property. I have a problem with you threatening our wells and put traffic on our roads anytime to haul that stuff out. I don't want you going by my road when I'm out there working in the garden with all these gravel trucks.
Sir, let him finish his presentation like we did with you. Okay? Thank you. And so we want to work with the township on all of those issues, okay? And hopefully I'll be able to get into it. So this whole idea of exploring whether or not we have a viable crop, we contacted someone who is a consultant and an expert. He was coming to Cleveland, Ohio, and we hired him to come to look at our property. And this was just a few weeks ago. His name is Victor Gonzalez. He is the owner and CEO of Victor's Lavender in Washington State. Victor is the largest producer of lavender in the country. He sells more lavender than we could ever produce. He was impressed with the property. He was impressed with the size of the project. The idea is that we have 30-some acres, and we do it in stages, but 30 acres is a big lavender farm. And he was impressed with it, and we were impressed with him. And so he's agreed to consult with us as we're going through it, because the first stage of what it is that we're planning to do, if we get permission, is to grow 5,000 plants, put them in a row, and see how it goes.
You're not gonna get any production the first year, maybe even not even the second year, but the third year, they should root and they should have the ability to thrive. How? All right, we dig a pond, we dig a pond, we take the sand out, we put a clay liner in. People were worried about what's gonna happen with the water that's in there. Is there gonna be fertilizer or other contaminants that are in that? We don't plan on using any other fertilizer that farmers use, and we probably are gonna be a little bit more responsible.
Organic.
It's gonna be organic according to Melanie, and, you know, when she says so, then I gotta tell you, that's what it is. Organic, all right? So, the fact that there's a clay liner is gonna stop leaching. The fact that there is going to be accumulated rainwater and surface water, and if any of you are my neighbors, you know there's a lot of surface water out there. This might benefit you if you're concerned about that. But the water that's going to be drawn into the pond is going to be surface water as opposed to digging a well and going down deep where your wells are and taking that aquifer and the water from that aquifer and using that. So Victor says,
Sir, how long do you think that pond's gonna take to fill up? Are you gonna wait for it to fill up and then plant your plants?
we're going to plant the plants as soon as we can.
Well, then how are you gonna irrigate them without the
Because
water
we're
in
going
the
to use
pond?
the pond.
What's that?
We're going to use the pond that we're going to dig. But I got to get permission first.
Yeah, but
So-
how is it gonna fill up in enough time for you to irrigate? How long do you think it takes to fill a pond?
So that's a good question. 75,000 yards of sand is going to be excavated. And I'll get to that point and how it's going to be done in a minute. But 75,000 yards is going to take some time to get transported out of there. Transportation is going to go up Church Road if we're to Meisner and then left. So anybody that's to the right is not going to have traffic issues. Anybody south of us on Church Road is not going to have any traffic issues. We talked about and disclosed that we were planning on doing excavation 8:30 until 4:30. We had thought maybe Saturdays, but we're kind of backed off from that. I don't think Ross wants to work on a Saturday anyway. But the point is that we're going to work with the township regarding the hours of operation and the time of the operation and the number of trucks that can come in and go out. The trucks. Some of you have talked about roads. The roads are going to be affected by the truck. We see washboarding south of where we live. We see washboarding north where we live. But there's a bond that is posted by the trucker regarding the roads. And so if there is a problem with the roads, and Rosso had told me about his situation with the golf course. If there's a problem with the roads, the bond is there to allow for and to require the repairs that need to be made so that you and I aren't putting new front ends on our cars.
But you don't live here.
Ma'am,
You keep saying we live.
I'm a United States citizen.
You don't
I live in Macomb County. I'm
This is St. Clair County.
a resident of the state of Michigan, and where do I have to have a passport to come into Casco? And I'm a landowner in Casco, and where do I not have the right to use my land as I wish?
It's not your homestead. You don't stay there all the time.
You don't live there.
Folks, we're not gonna get through this if we keep interrupting. So let the man make his presentation.
Am I already done? Should I stop? Would you like me to stop?
No, I'd like to pay attention to keep pulling the cat.
All right.
I live around you.
So anyway, I was pleased to meet with you last month. This is what Mr. Gonzalez has said. All right? Inspect your property for the purpose of determining your land as a potential as a significant commercial lavender farm. Been a lavender farmer and consultant for more than 20 years, and I've worked with hundreds of farms all over North America, South America, and in the Middle East. I am pleased to consult with you on this project. I found your soil has very good drainage and perfect for lavender production. Assuming there is sufficient water, the soil is sandy loam, so there's no need for you to mound your soil for the plants. The right spacing of lavender is 3 feet apart, center to center, 6 rows, which gives you 2,500 plants per acre. We're gonna start with 5,000. No small cost. The water is very critical for the care and growing of the health of these plants. The water requirement for the production of commercial flower and oil. If water is not available, the lavender bush may not die, but it won't produce. So this answers the question regarding the amount of water that's necessary. The first year is critical that the right amount of water is available for the growth of these plants. If the soil is sandy loam, install a drip system where each emitter could provide 1.5 gallons for each plant. And this is what our plan is, not the sprinklers that are going to be, or the machinery that's going to be loud and noisy. 1.5 gallons per hour per plant, water once or twice a week, depending on weather conditions, for an hour or two each time. The second year, everything, if it goes well the first year, the lavender will be established, and the water is still critical for state of Michigan. Once a week, you'll probably be necessary to water in the fashion that has been decided. This guy, by the way, has been growing lavender for 30 years, so he knows. And I suggest that it was at no small cost or effort that he came and consulted with. So I'm listening to the expert. And I hope that he...
Okay, so grow coconuts. I don't want to lose my well in your process.
So here's
And I
that.
want security.
Hang on, sir, we're not done yet, okay?
Technical problem.
This is it. Per hour.
The second floor is the land. It's this quarter here. It's underneath the stair.
This is the wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't move around too much. You got a short leash.
So let's see if I can do this with,
He lost his connection.
Oh, there it goes.
all right, somebody had asked a question regarding wildlife. All right, we know that deer don't eat lavender, but deer aren't afraid of lavender. Last, day before yesterday, Melanie went out. I stand corrected. Yesterday, we went out there and took this picture. Those aren't my footprints. Those aren't Mel's footprints. Those are deer prints. And they're in and around and milling around their lavender, and there's no issue regarding lavender scaring them away or affecting them in any way. So, this is an overview of the property. Those of you that are concerned about your wells, I want to suggest to you that when the golf course was excavated and soil was taken off the golf course, that these ponds formed. These ponds have not affected anybody's well water in the area. There's no record of any complaint of that having been made or done relating to that excavation at Golden Hawk.
Like I said, I'm on my third well at my residence in 25 years.
Yeah, but you're a mile and a half away.
Doesn't matter, I'm on my third well.
Okay, well, good luck with that. That had nothing to do with Golden Hawk. All right. So the project is going to be phased intentionally just to make sure. All right. And by phasing, we're going to be able to gauge the plant's tolerance to the weather, the watering needs when the plant is at its critically and important start. Phasing will also help us in gauging the amount of water that's going to be necessary in order to be drawn from the pond. Now, we talked about a pond, we talked about a lake. It's a big pond, but I would have a right, subject to the approval for excavation, even without excavation, I have a right to put a 4.9 acre pond in my home, or in my property, or on my farm. The only thing that makes this open for public comment is the fact that we're going to be excavating and taking sand out, which we're happy to explain, and hopefully it'll be approved, but we'll see how that goes. Phasing will assist in gauging the amount of water that is necessary for each plant phase. We have 3 phases. The first phase is going to be 5,000 plants. I wanted to have you have an overview of this, which shows you how much water that has been accumulated just north of the property. The property, west. I'm sorry, west. The property is as you can see, in the middle on the right. The well's going to go 12 15, it could go as deep, the sand goes as deep as 20 feet. As you can see, what I've got here is a cut of where that is going to go. It's outlined in red, and you can see that it is quite a distance away from the property lines of the neighbors who have come and said that they were concerned. But the other point here is that we did a Freedom of Information Act request of those that have wells that are registered in the county. And those wells are 96 feet to 242 feet on the bottom part. That's not surface water. If you let me finish.
I just have a question.
Will you let me finish? Okay. Which, by the way, you're nowhere near that. You're about 1.5 miles away, maybe 2.
I know exactly how far away from you I
Well,
am.
okay, so tell us. How many miles?
About 4.
Okay, I'll take that. In any event, the 4.99 acres and the well is going to be dredged in that particular area. Now, if you take a look, I said well, I meant pond. What well? So, now the next one has an overlay of how it's going to be done. And that is that it's not going to be straight wall construction 12, 15, 20 feet. According to the state law and the requirements, we have to stage it so that when somebody is wanting to go in, they're not going to have a 10-foot drop off. They're going to have a staged walk down to the bottom of the pond. That pond is going to be lined, as I said, and it's going to accumulate from surface water, which we have a ton of it. We have at least 2 drains on the property, and also
That whole
from
wooded
rainwater.
area is a swamp, and I think all the neighbors, all the way over here, it is pure swamp, all the way back through there.
So, Joe, the neighbors that are on the west
I don't know if it's
side.
been designated, not what the state says.
Jim, can I finish?
Yeah. Can you wrap it up in about 5 minutes?
Less.
Great.
Is that
Thank
pond
you.
right there on the property?
There is a
Right
pond.
below? Right
Yes,
below?
it's a shallow pond. We tried using it for irrigation, it's filled with silt. There's no way that that is going to service our needs. We're gonna need a larger pond like we're trying to excavate.
That was excavated for the overpass. That's how that pond got dug. That was for the overpass on Meisner Road.
So
That's
thank
where the
you for
dirt
that.
came from.
Thank
I
you.
know Dennis was a friend of mine.
No, it was not.
So here's a,
Pictures from
no,
1950.
no.
Who's doing this?
All right.
Who did this with
I mean, this is what it's gonna look like. You know, you're concerned about what things are gonna look like. You're gonna have a pond, and it's gonna have water in it, and that's a beautiful sight. We have duck out there, we have other animals out there. That's there. And if you take a look at the top left, that is lavender that's growing and how we intend on doing it. And the net effect is that you're beautifying the neighborhood, you're not scarring it. My natural resources. My natural resources, okay? And so, which I should be entitled to do. Now, I guess we could argue about this all night long. We have differing points of view. I hope to offer to you some explanation for what it is that we're doing and be transparent about it. We've seen social media, it's been pretty vituperative and not fair. And while I say you have the right to say whatever you want, there has been a lack of tempering in the attitude from the people that have been on social media. We try not to engage the trolls, and we're trying to present a reasonable alternative to saying no, just because we don't live here, and just because we don't have a homestead here. Hey, you know what I didn't tell you? You know what I didn't tell you? I may want to build a house there, okay? But I want to reserve my right to do it. I live in a great neighborhood. I like it out where the farm is. We use it all the time. I've got sons that hunt it. and it's been wonderful for us.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I have one question though that didn't get
Well,
answered.
wait a minute, ma'am, I think we have.
I just wanna know how deep is the pond? Nowhere has that been,
It'll be,
I understand that as
it
a
could go
deepest point.
as deep, well, we originally said 20, it could be 12 to 15
Feet deep.
feet
I can give
deep.
you
but-
some advice,
point.
real
Hold on 1
quick.
second, I'm not finished with her, please.
Okay.
All right, so, ma'am, we've done like 6 or 10 test digs to go down and see how far the sand was. And it goes anywhere from 8 to 9 to 10, and some places as far as 20. You know, the idea would be have it level, and then put the clay on top of it.
Okay, so max 20 feet deep. And for the
I
record-
totally
for the
agree with you.
record-
You should be able to use your property for whatever you want. I'm of the same thing with my property. But I'll tell you a little hint, you're gonna have trouble digging that pond, because I've lived right across on the same sand, and it's quicksand. And when I had my septic tank dug 50 years ago, if that tank wasn't ready to come in, it washed and washed and washed, and the hole got bigger and bigger and shallower. You might not have such an easy job as you think you're gonna have.
Well, I mean, I want to answer you fairly, okay? Steve Grasso did the excavations at the golf course. The golf course is right next door. If anybody can do it, he can, and he will do it correctly. So thank you for your comment.
Thanks, Rosso is a buddy of mine.
We have one, ma'am, did you have one quick question?
I have 3, maybe 4, depending on how it's worded.
Okay, real quick,
I'm
please.
Brenda Sapp, and I'm at 10088 Mountain Road. You mentioned that there's a bond for the repairs on the church road, is a county road, not a township maintained road, so is that bond?
I said, I don't use this shit. The one driving by my house.
Geisner is just resurfaced in that section that you're talking about, and turning down and going down. And typically resurfacing only happens every, 5 to 10 years? So with that resurfacing, is it going to destroy the road like it was prior to that resurfacing this year? With all of that
If it does, the bond is there. We're not hoping to do that at all. But if it does, the bond will be there for sure.
I know, we were talking about,
They would have to.
you guys were talking about the trucks, so my husband owns a school. And, that's a lot of noise with those trucks coming up and down the road, which would potentially, because he's on Zoom calls 90% of his day, interrupt his workday and cause him to potentially lose his job. So with that kind of road traffic, that's a big change in the way that we currently live. So that quality of life is a lot different than it's just a truck going down the road for you.
So where exactly are you at on Meisner Road?
I'm on Meisner Road between County Line and Fluffy.
And Beathway?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, so you're real close to the expressway, so presumably you hear the expressway as well.
I don't hear the expressway because those expressway cars are not right in front of my house.
Okay, thank you.
My last question.
Okay.
My last question is you said you're gonna eventually be at 5,000 plants, that's what you're,
No, that's first stage.
okay, so first stage, at 5,000 plants, at a gallon and a half per hour per plant, is 7,500 gallons per hour,
Okay.
right?
Hence the need for a big pond.
Which is the need for a big pond. My question is how's that pond gonna backfill, because surface water's not gonna backfill that, at that.
Rainwater and surface water.
Last year, my pond was just one. Last year, my pond was 55.
You won't get that pond filled up for about 10 years.
So how does that going to?
Real quick, we're not gonna do the
Water that absorbs it.
Right, oh yeah.
You throw a bucket of water in that sand, it's
No.
gone.
Oh, I know, I drive gravel train. We're getting pulled over on Meisner.
I'm really trying to hear what he's saying. Could you guys please allow him to answer my question?
So if we can't use surface water or rainwater, guess what? We're farmers.
That's what I was asking. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. No more questions.
It's really a simple one. I live directly behind there, and I totally agree with you. It is your property, do whatever you want. We're directly behind you, and we have a crappy well. We had our house cleaned and had to bring water in to have our house cleaned. But with doing such a big pond, so-called, that We have 2 little children next door to us. Those girls ride their side by side back there all the time and that. What about safety? Will there be security around this big pond?
So, one of the options is to put a berm in. Another option is to put a fence or nothing.
Okay.
Now, we are over, that pond is gonna be more than 2,000 feet
Right.
from wherever it is that you're talking about,
No way, man.
okay?
We're this side of the line.
What is your address?
9669.
9669. So, on 9669, on the water and the well issue, you have a well that's pretty deep.
And it's for crap. We have to bring water in to clean things.
And
But
the second part about safety, we're gonna work with the township to try and make sure that people's concerns are addressed.
right, and that's my main concern, you know, with having younger children in the area, not only directly behind there, but around the whole area. Thank you.
How long is this pond gonna be taking to be dug? Like a month, 2 months?
We've had our discussion.
Years?
So I just have one last
Years.
comment, just one last. I know you presented a letter on there from a consultant farmer, doesn't make them expertise. He's talking about 1.5 gallons, that's only for the first 3 months to establish a lavender plant. I mean, you got a broker and a attorney coming in, all of a sudden wanting to become farmers. Come on now.
And a point, I just wanna make, can I make one point of clarification?
Yeah, well, people that educational, been farmers all their life.
It's an educational statement.
Now, all of a sudden, want to be a farmer because the person here misspoke. He misspoke very badly. He talked about getting a FOIA request to find out everybody's wells,
I'd like you to have
where the wells
full
are.
control
You know,
over
simply go to Eagle.
so that I can address
Go
the
to
question
St.
that
Clair
I
County.
usually have.
I see getting the sign, everything's farmers. You don't need to tell us 9 years old.
Please, relax, good job.
For him to say your stuff is public knowledge.
I don't wanna go tit for tat, but I wanna say this. Melanie was raised on a farm in St. Clair County. This farm has been in her family for 150 years. Come on. Greedy, real estate agent, lawyer. We're invested in this.
Oranges here.
We're invested in this. That's the last thing I'm gonna say.
Okay, thanks, Jim. All right, what we're going to do is move on, and our next phase is going to be with our planners. We're sitting here at the table, trying to understand all this and go from there. So what we would like to do right now is actually, planners, questions, comments? John, we'll start with you.
Okay, a couple things that I had in my mind. Traffic and truck traffic. I understand your route. I assume that with Grosso doing this excavation for you, the majority, if not all, those trucks are going to be turning left off of Meisner on the county line, going back south, right? Has there been a traffic study or anything done to understand the impact of all these trucks turning left off of Meisner? Not to mention it'll literally be backing up my driveway because I'm the third house off county line, so that means I have trucks essentially sitting in front of my house all day long.
Well,
And they can't turn left.
I don't foresee them lining trucks up.
Well,
Okay,
what,
I do say this, there has not been a traffic study, but if you would like us to explore that, we'd be happy.
I mean, I think it's a valid point, right? A semi truck doesn't really get going too quick, especially when it's loaded with 30,000, or I'm sorry, 30 tons of sand, which is 60,000 pounds, plus your truck, you're over 100,000 pounds, turning left into traffic that's traveling 55 miles an hour, if they're traveling close to the speed limit on the southbound county line. That's my first concern. The second concern would be, you mentioned 75,000 cubic yards. I think some other calculations probably put that over 100,000 cubic yards of material to excavate out of this pond. So what does that time frame look like so that we can understand the amount of trucks that are going to be taking this route? And obviously they're both coming in and going out.
So it's as fast as you allow it, and as fast as their nature permits, but recognizing that the amount of traffic and the trucks issue is going to be something that's going to have to be resolved. We'll work with you on that.
So
But one second,
just
about the
humor me this.
100,000,
There's
Can
a section.
I answer?
Yeah.
the 100,000 was not our number.
It's 98,000.
Okay, so 98,
That's one.
75 to 98,000. It was estimated in our conversation with Rosser today, 75.
Okay, so 75,000 cubic yards of material divided by 24 yards per truck. There's 200 approximately working days in a year, because you can't excavate in the winter. If you're gonna try to get this done as quickly as possible, what does that math look like for how many trucks are coming
Several
a
years.
day?
Several years.
Several. What do you mean?
Well, you know, Steve said to us, we could do this in a year.
Yeah.
Okay, how many
Right.
trucks do you want rolling through the neighborhood?
That's
Do you
my
not, do
point.
you want 100?
Well, that's exactly my point.
Okay,
You
so
say you might get it done as
that's
quickly
the
as
reason
possible.
why we said, well, that's the reason why we said, okay, we're going to do a little bit of a slow walk on this, because nobody wants that type of traffic.
Well, you know, in my opinion, it's kind of a catch-22, right? You don't want the traffic, but you also don't want to be hearing excavating equipment for five or more years. Because we stretch this project out to reduce traffic, now we've increased noise traffic for 5 years.
Yeah.
So we're, as a resident that lives in the area, you're kind of, you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Because you either have to deal with a lot of traffic for a short amount of time, or a lot of noise for a long amount of time.
You got it. You know, I mean, you pick the lesser of two evils on that.
I don't know if there is one.
There is.
No.
Okay, what's your next question, John?
Last thing I have, in your presentation there, you showed the proposed site for the pond, what looked to be adjacent to the pond. Last month when you were here, I thought I understood that you were going to be digging and expanding the current pond.
No, we never said that.
So you're going to have 2 ponds on the property?
We're gonna have a pond that's to the left
Existing?
in that.
Yeah, okay. Why not expand on the current pond?
Well, because we have a road there, and.
Wait, what do you mean you have a
A
road? There's a pond there.
There's a driveway around it, but it's
Okay.
more than that. We have trees that are literally 150-foot tall oak trees that you will never see in your lifetime again.
Sure.
It would disrupt those trees. We have beech, we have oak, we have maple. The maple are, you know, not nearly as significant as these oak trees. But that root system, it's there.
Okay.
If we touch that pond, we will kill those trees. We will forever remove those. So, I mean, we don't want to do that.
Okay.
All set, John? Sue?
I would be interested to see some type of water use on our end. Like, what does a professional feel this is going to affect the groundwater? I can't answer that. I see the major concerns about it, and I can't comment on it. And yes, with this many concerns, it would worry me. So you mentioned there's people that can study something like that efficiently. I want something in that effect. Also, I guess as a planner and a new planner, I would need to be more comfortable with what, when you're approving special land use, the guidelines for approving special land use. I know it's different than the guidelines for when they have, if it was a specific land use within the district, you would just have a list of things and it would not be up to us. If they meet these things, it becomes a land use because it's in there. Under special land use, does that extend into, okay, you met all the criteria, but as a special land use, it's also community-based, and does it affect? And I don't know what those parameters are, and I'd like to see a more definition of that. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to you? Sort of made sense to me.
More official research.
On the soil ordinance, I answered. And you just answered this. So approximately, when, based on what you're planning, would the money be done? I guess that's what you were asking, I didn't get a.
When do we start?
No, when
How many years? I'm not asking for a specific year. If you don't start for 10 years, it would be later. But are we talking this 2-year, are we estimating? This said like roughly 2009, I think, would be phase 2.
So-
Is that 6 years? Is that?
What we're listening to is the idea that traffic is an issue. So the amount of time that it's going to take is going to depend on how important you think the traffic is. Because we don't want to overburden the neighborhood, we don't want to overburden the road, and we don't want to put ourselves in a position where we tell you for sure, 2 years or 5 years, and turn out not to be telling the truth.
So spread it out for 5 years instead of.
Hold on
So
a second.
let's work together to decide what the important issues are, so that we can make it reasonable, which is really the test. Your test is what this request, is it reasonable?
Yeah, what fits the parameters of what the township
And
requires.
so, and we have to talk about the traffic and the amount that's going to be excavated.
Is it extended, does Grasso have the ability to dispose of sand at a faster
Yes,
rate? Or does
absolutely.
they need to?
This is high value sand. You'll have no.
Anything else, sir?
I think the biggest thing, I think that, and I wish I underlined it somewhere on here. Oh, that wasn't it. It was later on. The biggest thing I feel is we need to look at, if we go either way, we need to cross our T's and dot our I's. I'm very concerned with that line that says it must exit onto a paved road.
Right.
It says that specifically. If we approve it, it is not a paved road.
Are they gonna
So
pave it?
what is our legality on that? It specifically says a main paved thoroughfare. Doesn't say gravel.
Pave it.
Pave it. Don't pave
it. We're not, yeah.
Let him pave it.
I'm just saying, no, I'm saying if we approve it as is, that would be,
Bring water into
that
it.
would be wrong on our part, because that law, right here underneath, it says exit onto a paved road.
Right.
Is that allowed to be discretionary? I don't know, that would come from these people that advise us, you guys, on what is right and what is wrong. We just read, just like you guys, to find what we think is right, what we think is wrong.
Church
We're
Road is
just
a county,
doing the
Church Road
best.
is a county road too. It's not,
Yes.
doesn't have anything to do with township.
So we're just
That's
crossing our
can't just
T's
pave
and
it.
dotting our I's
You need
too,
a county
so
road.
don't be mad, you know.
Church
us
Road
asking questions.
stinks anyway driving it.
Church
Church Road stinks anyway driving it.
It's a major county road.
Down by.
I've lived on it for 51 years.
Planning thing.
I'd like to address that.
You need to hire Bob.
I'm good, that's fine.
Thank you.
Okay, my question, one of my questions is, the current pond that we have, why is it not filled?
Well, there is water in there. The only problem is that pond had been neglected for over, I don't know, 40 years.
The people sold it.
Longer than that.
You guys, it's our turn.
Hang on.
Okay, there's an extreme amount of sediment and muck in the pond. Okay, in order to clean it, as our neighbor just suggested, it would require a crane with potentially a drag line. As I said, I have trees that are literally
We all have trees.
years old, which by many standards would be a protected.
Some of us have the parents to those trees. Please, just let them talk.
Okay,
Please.
I guess what my question, how are you expecting the big pond to fill as quickly as you will need it if this little pond is not filling?
No, the
Can I
ponds
answer a little bit of it?
Yeah, go
Because
ahead.
the clay line it as a real pond should be, so that it'll hold rainwater and any of the runoff that's around. The pond that's there right now probably wasn't filled correctly and lined with the clay line.
No, it's very shallow as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I went and visited some lavender farms.
Thank you.
And one of the people I asked how they irrigate it, and she told me they don't.
Yeah.
Now, I have a little bit of lavender, and I never water it, but I understand that this is a bigger scale, a much bigger scale.
Much more at stake.
And I don't know, well, it's only as much as you put into it.
Well, I mean, you got 5,000 plants. That's
No,
a reasonable.
I understand that, I understand
No,
that.
we're talking about a scale much larger than 5,000 plants.
This is the start. First stage is 5,000.
We're
We're
talking
talking about
about-
30,000.
Okay, maybe more.
Now you say, okay, let's do that to the face. Now I'm stuck like my soybean farm and wondering why I didn't go into Ford's and get a contract and instead of farming. So
Well, there's that
it's a
too.
problem. it's a risk that we don't want to take, and the pond will help us to allay whatever those fears are about water. And hopefully without.
Can I ask you which farm you went to?
I went to Romeo Farm.
Okay, how many acres do they have?
I don't know.
Okay, it's a very small farm. It's nothing to the scale of this. I'm a member of the Great Lakes Lavender Growers Association.
Okay.
And also the United States Lavender Growers Association.
Okay.
This is how we ended up consulting with the largest lavender producer in the country, who also consults throughout the world.
So how long have you been a member of this lavender organization?
It's been about 3 years now. I've been researching, because this has been something that, you know, when you have sand, what grows in sand? Nothing.
You know, what we did is, we then, put down 300 plants as a test plot.
Yeah.
So it's been stages: education,
Yeah.
consultation, test plots, and now, so it's been,
I understand that, but I also understand everybody's concerns.
of course.
Because I had problems with my well, and that's always in the back of my mind.
Yes.
I mean, it is. It is.
We'll get a hydrological survey. We'll answer the questions then with a specialist, an engineer, who is specializing in that area, and will incur costs and do it there.
I understand that too. However, they can say whatever they want, and if your pond, or if your well goes dry, it goes dry.
Well, I don't want to be Anthony Fauci. Certainly not in St. Clair County, but follow the science. That's what you do.
Oh, you know.
And you make your decision based on
You
the
know,
science.
I lived on Church Road when, north of 32 Mile Road,
Okay.
when the excavation was going on Northern Road.
Okay.
Okay, that area north of 32 is notorious. There's a section of Casco as well as Columbus Township where the wells are very poor. And there are certain wells that they have no water whatsoever.
Yes.
Okay, what transpired with that pit when it was going on is they made applications, said they were building a golf course. They dug those lakes 60 feet deep. They were not 20 foot deep. They were not 15 foot deep. They were 60 foot deep. Those guys came in, they had one sole intention, they never did anything else. These were not people that had been there loving and caring and spending time at their property. This was a big company, they were investors. You know, there's been some conversation and people that wanted to think that we were some big company coming in and we were just gonna come in and gobble up all the resources and leave, you know, this waste for everybody else to look at. This is a 75-acre piece of property that is something that I'm probably going to live on one day. Okay, so I mean, we've owned it from the day we bought it. We've nurtured it. We've loved it. We've cared for it. We maintain it. Okay, you drive by, who cuts a field? Okay, the grass around it. Okay, yeah, I mean, I literally have a lawn service come out and maintain that property. Okay, you guys had a big conversation about noxious weeds of people that are living in the township that aren't cutting their own front lawns for the homes that they live in. We treat a vacant piece of property better than that.
Okay, folks, what else do you have? Thanks, Phil. Appreciate that.
It's gonna
be a business.
Dan?
So is the purpose of the pond for the irrigation or for the profit that could be made from the sand?
The irrigation is required. Okay, there is no lavender farm without water. Okay, period.
But can you say it was soaking wet back there already?
In our woods it is, but not in the area where the field's at.
I'm not a farmer, but if I was in your situation, I feel like I would explore the existing pond prior to.
Well, we have.
So
We did a test plot.
We had used, and we've been using it for the gardens that we've been putting in. As I said, they were large, 150 feet by 60, and trying to see if we could sustain it. The first 2 years they struggled. This year, because of the rain, you know, we got lucky.
How big is that? I mean, I just see the aerial photos. I don't know. Is it half an acre, an acre?
Yeah.
Any idea?
Probably about a half acre.
Listen, when I'm digging in the dirt, it's like 2 acres. But when I look at it on the map, it's only maybe a little more than a.
It's very shallow.
I think that that was actually probably used for cattle or some other purpose at some point.
I told you what it was dug for.
But again, if that's the case, you can get a long arm excavator in there and
Yeah,
excavate
there's pictures of your
what
dad's
you
farm.
already have, so.
Yeah, my family done that.
I don't know about that,
We
but.
got a lot of trees, you know what I
My
mean?
dad on the phone.
Okay.
That's what he told me.
And then unless you're an arborist, you don't know if it's gonna affect the existing trees that are there or not.
Well, I mean, we've consulted with arborists about the trees that are on the property, and I suggest it's just not a practical application because we tried to use it, it's not good.
And the drip irrigation, what is gonna feed the drip irrigation?
The pond.
Gravity, a pump? I mean, how do
Oh,
you?
yeah, you have to have a pump. I
So
mean,
what kind of, and you never really said what kind of pump, so that would be something that I'd be interested in knowing. The phasing, we talked about the phasing, if it was granted and it was slow. I guess, I believe I read that you can't have a big stockpile of sand, a certain height or something. I think I remember what it was. So would the plan be to excavate the entire 4.9 acres of the pond and have the sand sitting on site?
no.
And then the phasing of the trucking and everything be slow?
We
Or
intend on farming this the entire way through, okay? So, I mean, this is a very large area. And, you know, if the farmer still wants to give it a attempt, every year he makes a claim on our property. Because the production from our soybeans is a third of what it should be. All right, you can walk out there right now and you'll see giant swaths of nothing but bare dirt. Okay, there's certain areas that have done a little bit better. We had a ton of rain this year, so it's less than what it was last year. Last year was extremely hot. In June, it was 95 degrees for how many days? You know, it's just been a weird year. So, you know, I mean, if he's willing to come back, of course, we're gonna tell him, yeah, go ahead, farm away. We'll do what we have to do in the back. I already have a test plot, I'm not getting rid of my plants. The cost of those plants is extraordinary. It's not like buying a soybean, you know, to plant it. It's extraordinary, and you really have to nurture these in order to get them to produce. And as, you know, our consultant said, a plant may not die if it doesn't have the exact water requirements, but it also won't produce what we're trying to bring it to the table for. We're looking for oil production. Okay, that's the deal with lavender. There are some culinary uses. We're gonna probably have a couple different species of it. The culinary uses, it's all about the buds. Okay. The main component to this is oil production. In order for that plant to produce, it has to have the moisture content. And it's just that simple. Where is it gonna be produced?
I have a question for you, I'll be nice. Why did you buy property, the highest property from the lake on Church Road, sandy, deep sandy ground to grow lavender? Where was your brain?
Is that nice? Was that nice?
Mr. Fowler, do you know who was gonna buy that property for my grandmother? They wanted to build condos. They told us they were gonna build condominiums. We're doing mud ball, yeah, I have all of it in writing. I contacted them the day before it was gonna go to closing, saying, I don't want this at our family's property. They're just, I mean, it's
I have one more question. So I did read your profile on showcase.com, and it does say on there that you're working on something at 75 acres for planting. Is this that same 75
Well, I
acres?
lamp out there. I lamp out there, absolutely. But no, we're not building a campground. If that's what you're asking.
Airbnb or anything like that? Or
No.
I did my research and I found it.
Where was this at?
Showcase.com.
I don't even know what that
It
is.
has a picture of you and like your whole bio.
Somebody made that up. We do have Airbnbs though in northern, in the Thumb.
Okay.
But not this.
Not this.
I don't have anything else, thank you.
Okay. Very good. Just a few comments that I might have, and then we'll close the public hearing. There seems to be obviously a number of questions, and obviously the questions affect all of us, including me. With the well and those types of things, we had a well, that flowing well a number of years ago, and my neighbor was telling me that, you know what, that well went south. And the flowing well went away because there was a huge development going on County Line. So there is a legitimate concern on all of our parts as to protect our wells. That is our lifeblood. On the flip side of that, that's also your lifeblood. So I would suggest what Sue is trying, I believe, to get to was an analysis from a hydrologist for the area. And so that we can look at the wells, and when I looked at some of the well logs, I believe the most shallow was like 96, would that be right, 100
What?
feet?
Mine's 90.
Yours is 98? Okay, that's
90,
fine.
90.
Oh, 90.
And what was your address, ma'am?
9759.
I think mine's
All the
96.
trucks,
All
all
the
back
way
and forth.
We looked at the permitted wells and
Mine's 216 and it's hot, comes from hell.
Yeah, that's a long way down. What it'll help us do is understand what concerns you have along with our concerns. So that's one of the things I wanted to bring up to you. And I think it might be something that you'd be interested in or that you would agree to do.
we won't.
The other thing is,
It's gonna cost about $3,000.
Yeah.
And we'll get it done and present.
Right.
And if you guys wanna get an independent one, I guess that's okay, but we'll try and find somebody roughly.
perfect. And if you want to speak with John Monte, John has a myriad of help in some of those areas, okay? The other thing, Matthew, this might be more of a question for you, but help me out here. When I looked at the drawings, there was boring reports. How deep do they go?
They're on the plan sheet.
Okay? And I'm probably missing, but approximately how deep did they go?
They went 12 to 15 feet.
Okay, and that was obviously sand.
Yeah.
Okay. John, would we be smart in going down with our study that we're talking about here down to 100 feet?
That'd be recommended by the hydrologist.
But it might be something, Jim, that we want to take a look at. Again, we're trying to soothe that issue in all of our minds as to what's going to happen with our wells. Okay? The other thing, a couple of the things that we discussed and chatted about was the road commission, our friends at the county road commission. That's important to all of us as to what may or may not happen on Church Road and where I live on Meisner Road. So we have to be well aware of what their concerns are and how this is going to be handled with respect to bonds and those types of things. I might suggest to you that we have a meeting, we being our couple of the representatives from the Planning Commission, obviously the folks over here, and then I would invite, if you can, is to maybe have a couple of representatives from our neighborhood to coordinate a meeting with them. I think it would be an eye-to-eye type meeting, which I like to do. And we can discuss a lot of the issues that we all have.
Keith, can we invite that guy or one of his partners?
Pardon me?
So can we invite that guy or one of his partners?
Sure.
Nobody understands traffic better than the guy that's got to respond to the accidents.
There we go. That's not a bad idea. Okay. So if that's just another thing that crossed my mind when we were hearing a lot of the what was happening here this evening, and believe me, I understand. Another thing that I think Melanie, Jim, Matt, what you're trying to do is put a positive spin on this, and that's what I would be doing. One of the other areas that I think we maybe should look at is a berm, a visual berm between our neighbors alongside of us on Church Road, and something to think about. And I would ask probably Karen to help us out with that. And again, it's one of those, if you're looking at maybe 400 or 500 feet, whatever the number is, Jim, but you have a berm, and we know you're trying to help us not only with the visual, but with the ears. We all know what that's like. I I have Interstate 94 going in the back of my property, and I can tell you on a Sunday night, we shut the windows. And you almost have to do that today, right?
We can hear it.
I can hear it all the way on the
I
other
can hear it
side.
at my house.
Yeah.
So we'd like to work with you on that,
Okay.
okay?
Look, we have materials to make them run.
There we go, you've got it, you have the material.
I guess I'd have to ask the question.
No, not on
Is
sand.
a berm
It'll
really
blow all
gonna
over
work
it.
for me?
Use all that nasty clay.
I'm telling
That ain't
you,
worth
they
it.
are in my backyard. I'm gonna hear everything. You're gonna hear the diesel, you're gonna hear this, the sifter, that is gonna be horrendous. You guys are talking about 5 years? Are you all crazy? I would have to live with that within 100 feet, and they say no, but it looks to me like I'm only 60 foot from the property line. How far is their digging from their property line? That's what I wanna know. I'm 60 feet. That's stepping out my back door. Okay?
Minimal
I can
research.
see it, and it's like, you think that's not gonna be held to live with the here?
Yeah. With minimal research.
Unbelievable.
While Michigan's climate and soil is not ideal for lavender, they're suitable. Lavender loves sandy, well-drained soil. That, I have researched and it says it needs to be watered when it's planted and depending on the weather, one more time. So if you wanna grow something that isn't gonna be detrimental to half of the county.
Well, I guess I just don't understand why there's still, bringing in a crane and a drag line, well, yeah, you might have to do that. And I don't think you'd probably damage your trees. I don't know why possibly outfitting the pond that's there already would not produce enough water for them to get it started and keep it going. A 5-acre pond is one heck of amount of water. And I can't imagine that they're gonna need 5 acres of water to start that up and keep that going. I'm sorry, it just doesn't equate. I don't think so. I'll get my math book out and I'll start doing a little more math. I didn't do enough, I guess, for tonight.
And we
But-
talk about the beautification, how far back is that lavender gonna be planted? I mean, there's not
You
that
can
much
see it
road
from the road.
frontage. Yeah, you can
I'd
see
be
it
the
from
only
the
one that
road.
can see it.
Yeah, so how are you be beautifying if you can't see it from the road?
Well, and I think some of those questions they're jotting down tonight, they're not gonna maybe have the answers for you tonight. I'm not sure what the planners are gonna want to do with this after we close the public hearing, but we're gonna soon find out.
They know they're landlocked.
Yeah, we'll see. So let me enjoy some mess. I'm not.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Those types of questions, one-on-one, and we may have to do that. Okay, it may have to be a one-on-one. And Melanie has already told me, they're willing to do that with us. And with you, to
I was
discuss that.
surprised somebody hasn't knocked on my door already. He goes right by my house all the time
I'm gonna
and told me
come over-
what's
I'm gonna
going on.
come
I
over
had
and
no
see you.
idea till I got the letter from you that this was going on. I'm not nosy. I don't look at my neighbors. I don't care what they do as long as they mind their own frickin' business. But this is my business now.
There you go. Okay. And we're listening.
What's the weight limit on that bridge on Meisner?
You know, that kind of, one of the things that I'm real concerned about is
Now I'm having to
safety.
talk with Stevie Groves
Safety
tomorrow.
general. I'm really gonna be a proponent for a fence around that pond. And with the definite guidelines that we're gonna get from John and also from Karen. And it's not only for me, it's for you, it's for the community. So give that some thought. The other issue that I was wondering about, bear with me 1 second. Oh, the final plan on this, folks, at the end of the day, whether it's 2 years, 5 years, what is this going to look like as far as the property itself? Matt, will some of the topsoil be spread out, which is what we kind of call for?
And Jim showed the slide, it's gonna be beautiful rows of lavender with a lake or a pond basically there, and all the rest is gonna be, seeded.
There's really no topsoil to speak of.
You'll see from the road.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah,
There's no
Yeah.
So you have it here, and take a look at that, and that's what we think it's gonna look like. That's what we plan on doing.
Okay. I can do that.
And
All
that's
right.
consistent with what the consultant had said, 3 feet apart.
Folks, it's getting late. It's getting a little tough to probably think through all this. We're going to close the public hearing. If I get a motion to close the public hearing.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Is there a second to that one? There's a motion to second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Carried. So our
We have to reopen.
we're going to reopen the meeting from the standpoint of getting motion.
I made the motion to reopen the meeting of October 17th planning commission.
We live on Church
Is there a second to that motion?
We live on Church Road.
There's a motion and a second. to
Between-
open the meeting.
No, between mine and
Folks, we still got some stuff to go here. Please.
Oh, okay, we,
Sorry. I
Just
lost
the
you there
public
for a
hearing.
minute, right?
yeah, you did.
I did. All right, what is your pleasure? All in favor? Aye. Thanks, Vicki.
No problem.
Planners, what is your pleasure?
Does that need to be done on the motion as well?
No. Rhonda, help me out on this one.
What are they doing
They
now?
closed the public hearing, they were gonna make a motion, but there's no action item. Yeah.
Well, no, this is the public hearing tonight, no
Yeah, you
decision
don't need
needs
to
to
make
be
an
made
action
tonight.
item. Right,
We
you
were
don't
just
need to-
given all this information, I'm not ready to make a decision on
No.
this tonight.
No,
It's
they-
not
no,
like-
they-
You closed it, so you have to go on that side.
I would say we could have
If you let me.
made a decision to table the matter.
Well, let me
I
ask.
mean, you've taken no
Yeah.
action on anything that was discussed, basically.
Let me ask this
If
a
I
different way.
understand correctly.
Correct.
You have to do something.
Yeah.
Table it.
Jim,
So,
Further
Melanie,
information.
now what you heard this evening?
To do the hydrology part of it?
Yeah.
Do they need a month lead time? Okay, so, give us a month and then a little bit of time to make sure that we got it.
So, Jim, are you saying, from your standpoint, should we postpone this?
Please.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to postpone the special land use soil removal for Melanie Lavati and James Thomas until the December 19th to 2023 Planning Commission meeting.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Further discussion?
For the 19th, is there a week earlier? Did you say December 19th?
Correct.
For the third Tuesday of every month.
Yeah,
Do
Jim,
we
what,
have to go into January if we didn't do December?
I got a
And
feeling.
is that, what day is that every week?
Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Tuesday?
Always the
Fine,
third
that's fine,
Tuesday.
that's fine.
Okay, all right. Good.
Who seconded the motion?
I did.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Vic. All righty, we are at a point where what we are going to do is close our session 1 of our planning commission meeting tonight. We are going to go into session 2, believe it or not. That is in our first year, or
We still gotta do that public hearing, 15 to 30 days.
Number 8.
oh, we've got that one rolling. Oh, yeah.
We need to put on schedule for it.
15.
That would be number 8, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Site plan.
I'm so sorry.
Oh.
You guys, right? You guys have them?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why I have.
Sorry.
Yeah, we got it.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know if somebody else wants to see it.
So John, you want to make that motion?
Am I making a motion for?
Well, we're going to,
Okay.
number 8 for second public hearing.
All right, I'm gonna make a motion to set a public hearing for an increase to the time requirement for site plan review from 15 to 30 days.
And that's, thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. All right, we got that out of the way. So let me go back a little bit. We have session 1 complete, we're going into session 2, and that's our, we go through the 5-year plan, and what we're up to. We're under new business, planners report from committees. Is there any new business that we need to go through? Anything from the planners report? No, that cut you all off. All right, the only report from committees that I have is. There is a St. Clair County Metropolitan Planning Commission meeting on Tuesday, October 24th.
You haven't seen the best of the Church Road yet,
It's
Pete.
next week, Tuesday, so if you can make it, it'd be great.
Slow going up.
Now we're gonna go into section C. All right, for Karen, for our master plan 5-year update.
Right.
Right, so, we've all, received the working draft, the master plan. And, I know last week we talked about, the agricultural and residential zone, the overarching objectives. And today we were going to revisit the plans, previous commercial and industrial goals and objectives. The last master plan, the goal was to maintain the township's current supply of commercial and industrial zone land to provide for limited additional commercial and office development in appropriate areas. There were 3 objectives: allow for moderate expansion of commercial and office uses within established commercial areas on paved roads in the city of Richmond and Post I-94. Third objective was to provide for industrial uses within the existing Marine City Highway Industrial Corridor. And the third objective was to minimize the negative impacts of commercial and industrial developments on roads, adjacent land uses, and the environment. I think all those are still very relevant. I guess the only thing I would question now is, when we're revisiting a lot of these community plans, there are these office districts, and you guys don't necessarily have that, but considering how things have changed, I mean, there's always going to be a need for offices, but, is that something we still want to highlight? I mean, you guys know your commercial need more so. With the age of people working from home now, and a lot of these office settings, I guess what was your thoughts?
The property at County Line and Springborn, wasn't that small office use when it originally came before us for the trucking? What was that zone?
Great Lakes trucking.
Yeah, wasn't that zone something like small?
Light
People are
industrial.
gonna use it. It's not-
They were gonna use it for
Trucking, I'm saying.
Sorry about that, I thought it was something light, you said light
Is
industrial.
it B2? Is it small business?
Yeah, it was.
This property is,
General business, is it that or section B2?
Oh, it was general business.
No,
Yeah.
well, here's Springborn, this county line,
Yeah.
and that's 94, so it's actually this piece of, it's this parcel right here that they wanted. This map shows it as ag.
It was ag, and they were asking for it to be rezoned.
Correct, I thought for some reason it was B2, I thought it was small business, but, I was wrong, sorry. Maybe that was on the future master plan, I don't have that drawn. This is currently.
So what is our real question?
So I guess, we have this emphasis on, possibly adding office uses where they seem necessary. Is that something that we still want to continue in our new master plan, or just, I mean, we can, but just considering how things have changed in the last 10 years when it comes to office spaces?
On that future land use, it was listed as office. It's that blue shaded section, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah,
that
so it's just, do we want
office
to
service.
continue to have that emphasis on office space, or is that something where we want to revisit and maybe look at that as small business, more, office and small business.
Why that category alone?
I think to make an educated decision, you need to understand what is permitted in those areas, because, I don't think that anybody wants a high-rise office building that's just strictly cubicles, but maybe there's another zoning category that would allow for an office space if desired, but could also be used for other things so that we don't limit ourselves.
So what does office service really mean? Right now it's labeled office service. What does that really entail? What types of businesses?
Right. So should we, or our next review, should I basically, because right now you just have you just have your commercial zones. And so in theory, these office spaces would have probably occurred somewhere in those, because you don't have an office district. So, and the purpose of the master plan is to offer guidance to get to a point where maybe you do have that, or that office space is involved in one of those commercial zones. So do we want to take a look at the current commercial zones, what's permitted, what's special land use, and then decide if you guys want to
Yeah, I mean,
make some
when you look at the current map, you got all this industrial down county line, or down 26 Mile Road, right? But if somebody came in there and said, hey, we want to develop one of these parcels into a doctor's office, that follows under office service, right?
Right.
I don't have I don't see an issue with that, and I mean, it doesn't have to be industrial along that corridor. I mean, I think we're limiting ourselves if we say that those only development that can go along 26 Mile Road has to be industrial.
I agree.
It could also be office use or small service use.
Is that permitted in the industrial now? Do you know?
Office uses? I'll have to double check.
It might be a permitted use already.
Under, yeah, that's what
Yeah, that's, I mean, if it's already a permitted use under a different category, then okay, fine.
Any other thoughts and ideas about, exploring commercial and industrial goals and objectives?
Well, I think there's some properties that we need to take a second look at, because they are not conducive to development of any kind. One of the things that comes to my mind is, quite frankly, the trailer park on County Line. And the property that is between Interstate 94 and the trailer park. It's kind of a dead piece of property.
It
In a
is.
way, very difficult. If I owned it, I don't know what you could do with it. So those are the kinds of things that I believe, Karen, we should take a second look at. And I would challenge the planners, just like I have, that's kind of my little thing. If you see something out there, Sue, John, that
Because nobody's gonna build a house there. It's modern density, but nobody's gonna pick up one of those lots and put a singular house right there.
And you've got a situation where 27 Mile Road dies right there, so you've got, rolling that easement might even be there yet for all I know.
Right.
So we were talking a little bit today with some folks from the trailer park, and it just struck me as we're doing this 5-year plan. Those are the kinds of things we should look at.
I agree.
And not just it seems like we've concentrated so much of our time and effort, which we have to, 26 Mile Road. But we need to look at the rest of the township
This is true.
and see whether we can, maybe help some people out.
Sure.
Keith, would you guys be considering on those types of things? Would you be looking at how you could develop them for the township? I mean, I know the little corner piece you're talking about, O'Mara's used to live there years ago, I remember. But that corner piece on County Line. But I mean, is there something that would be advantageous to the township? I mean, for families, I mean, I don't know, a park, skateboarding, I don't know, something. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be that. I'm just saying, if you're looking at something like that.
Well, certainly, we would need to understand who owns the parcel
Right,
first, and then find out what we can do to help them make it more
It's like
desirable to develop.
It's like 9 acres.
If it's a zoning issue, maybe we need to work with the property owner to say, hey, listen, we understand that this is zoned for this type of use, but that's never gonna happen here because of its proximity to, so maybe we could look at possibly rezoning it to a different category that would allow them to do something with it.
That makes sense.
And there's a reason you can't just keep it as a buffer green.
Sure, I mean,
Well, there's
I
always.
like the
Well, it's
fact
still
that
Well,
has
this is
to
a
be-
5-year plan,
Right.
Yeah.
so
I'm sorry?
it's a 5-year plan.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you have to mow everything down
No.
eventually, you know, I mean,
Not at all.
No.
And that we need to look at also.
I mean, I'm here because it's green,
There you are.
and it's farms, and it's green.
Yeah.
You know, we've got a beautiful balance of woods and ag, and it's unique.
Right.
I don't want to see it all become developed. I see
Yeah.
zero reason to
And there was
develop.
a-
We already have, I was shocked coming down Melbourne from 31, how many new houses there are here. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
No.
They just pop up.
Yeah.
If it's for the same reason that we all live here.
That's right.
Yeah, but I bought a house that was already here.
Who
Well, you
wouldn't
were
want
smart.
to live out here?
I bought a house that already existed.
But they're buying 5-acre parcels, which is what
So anyway, to
they're
answer your
buying,
question,
parcels and.
that's another thing we should.
And the person who owns them.
And then
I know, I'm like, I
Hang on,
can't even
hang on.
imagine.
We're almost
5
done.
years I have to put up with that?
Hang on.
So you do have, I'll have to double check with Brenda on property records, but we have this office zone. It's not just in the future land use plan, I can see it's in, it's a current zoning district that we just don't have any parcels in. And I guess the question is, do we want to maintain this commercial possibility, or do we want to maybe think about, do we want to incorporate that into a different business category, maybe B1 or B2 instead, you know? I mean, that's something that you probably adopted the office district into your zoning map because you're like, our plan says we should, think ahead. But if enough time has passed and you feel like, I guess I'm just curious, do we think this is a district that we want to still keep in the zoning ordinance? Or do we want to maybe incorporate it into maybe the small business district? Just so there's more flexibility of what you can do in theory in a certain area.
I think the flexibility is a good option.
I agree.
Okay. Anything else we should hammer tonight, Sharon, or are we?
I like that word.
We've hammered for a while tonight.
Yes, we have.
The day has been kind of interesting all about. And we thank you for being with us tonight, sir.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
for having me.
Appreciate it.
I don't mind coming by. I had to remember where Casco Township Hall was.
Yeah. Very good.
It's good to get it.
Okay, folks, it's getting late. As you can tell, I'm getting more foggy as we go along. And so what it would be good to do is probably end this session.
Let's end the session.
So with that, we need a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 9:18.
Thank you, Dan.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Gina. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, carried. Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks for your patience tonight.
Okay.
Blue Water Fallen Heroes Community Banner Program is in need of these fallen hero photos in the Casco area. If you have a photo, please contact 810-434-6407 or email weichsler10@gmail.com.